Hi, Precious Heart. Thank you for joining us for our weekly vlog. We are experiencing an unprecedented cosmic moment, and millions of people have been catapulted into terrifying financial situations which seem beyond their control. Millions of other people around the world have been struggling with extreme poverty their entire life, but now things are getting worse. As the forced timeout and the unfolding planetary reboot we have been experiencing for several months creates the sacred space for the masses of humanity to awaken, we are being reminded by the beings of light in the realms of illumined truth that poverty is a human miscreation, and that actually God's infinite abundance is humanity's divine birthright. We are being told by the company of heaven that during this cosmic moment, the divine qualities of God's infinite abundance and eternal peace, which are inseparable aspects of our Father, Mother, God's light, are being amplified within the mental and emotional strata of Mother Earth. This greatly expanded gift from on high is in response to the heartfelt pleas from an awakening humanity. These heart-based patterns are now readily available, and all we have to do is lift up in consciousness and magnetize them into our everyday life experiences through our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. In order to encourage us to do this, the company of heaven wants to once again share with us the bigger picture of how we lost the ability to receive the natural flow of God's infinite abundance and eternal peace in the first place. So please set aside your preconceived notions about poverty and listen to these words with an open heart and mind. In the beginning, when it was time for the sons and daughters of God to master the skill of becoming co-creators with our God parents, a plan was set into motion to help us learn this process quickly and effectively. Our Father, Mother, God decided that if the children learned how to use our free will and our creative faculties of thought and feeling within the constraints of a time and space continuum, we would experience the results of what we were creating much faster. This would enable us to develop our co-creative skills at an accelerated pace. Since time and space only exist in the third and fourth dimensions, the sons and daughters of God volunteered to descend into the stepped-down frequencies in the third dimensional schoolroom of Earth. To ensure our success during our earthly sojourn, our Father, Mother, God formed a covenant with us. This covenant was designed to provide us with a continual flow of the patterns of perfection within the causal body of God that pulsate with God's infinite abundance and eternal peace. Our Father, Mother, God asked the mighty Elohim, who are the builders of form and the directors of the elemental kingdom, to provide us with everything we would need in order to sustain our physical, etheric, mental, and emotional bodies while we were learning our lessons of co-creation in the third dimension. The divine intent of this heavenly gift was to prevent us from being distracted from our lessons of co-creation by having to struggle to sustain our earthly bodies while we were abiding in the physical plane. The Elohim, the directors of the elements and the elemental kingdom, responded by co-creating an earthly paradise, which we've known as the Garden of Eden. This resplendent expression of nature provided everything we needed to sustain our earthly bodies. Without effort, we had available to us all of the sunlight, air, water, food, and material for clothing and shelter we needed to survive in the third dimension. In addition to these gifts from the elemental kingdom, our Father, Mother God agreed to provide us with a perpetual flow of our life force. This unformed primal light substance is our gift of life. This is the light that activates our brain, beats our heart, and flows through our chakra system and our acupuncture meridians. It is also the unformed primal light substance that we use through our creative faculties of thought and feeling, with every thought, feeling, word, and action we express. In harmony with the universal laws that govern all creation, there must always be a balance between the out-breath and the in-breath of God. The out-breath of God is the life force we receive as our gift of life from our Father, Mother God. And the in-breath of God is the life force from God that the sons and daughters of God qualify with love and send back to our God parents in appreciation for our gift of life. In the original covenant we made with our Father, Mother God, God's out-breath ensured that their sons and daughters abiding on earth would receive an infinite abundance of our life force and everything we would need to sustain our earthly bodies. In return, our covenant with our God parents promised that we would fulfill our responsibility of balancing the out-breath of God with our in-breath by sending that back to God, using our life force in loving ways that would add to the light of the world and reflect our love and gratitude for our gift of life. In order to accomplish this, we made the heart commitment to respect our earthly bodies, which the elemental kingdom had provided for us. And we agreed to honor and revere the myriad gifts Mother Earth and the elemental kingdom were providing to sustain our bodies in the physical plane. We also promised that we would use our life force, our free will, and our creative faculties of thought and feeling to co-create new patterns of perfection that would enhance the manifestation of heaven on earth. Prior to our fall from grace, we fulfilled our part of this covenant perfectly. We observed the patterns of perfection in the causal body of God. Then we used our free will and our unique ways of thinking and feeling to combine these patterns in previously unknown ways. Every day we used our life force to co-create new expressions of divinity, thus fulfilling our covenant with God by balancing the out-breath of our life force with the in-breath of our love and gratitude in appreciation for our gift of life. After we fell from grace into the abyss of separation and duality, everything changed. We became so buried in the negativity of our human miscreations that we lost Christ consciousness and the ability to communicate with our I Am presence and the company of heaven. We forgot that we are multifaceted and multidimensional sons and daughters of God, abiding on earth to learn how to become co-creators with our Father, Mother God. We also forgot about our covenant with God, which guaranteed that we would experience God's infinite abundance and eternal peace if we would just fulfill our part of the covenant by using our life force in loving ways that added to the light of the world, and by honoring our earthly bodies and Mother Earth. Once we lost the awareness of our I Am presence and forgot about our covenant with God, we inadvertently created our fear-based ego. This distorted aspect of our fallen consciousness manipulated us into believing that there was not enough of whatever we needed to survive. We developed a consciousness of poverty, and our ego began creating gross thought forms of lack and limitation. When our ego projected negative thought forms and feelings onto the elemental substance in the Garden of Eden, the elemental kingdom was forced to outpicture the distorted patterns of decay, aging, and inclement weather conditions. These gross mutations manifested as famines, droughts, floods, plagues, pestilence, and other painful miscreations that perpetuated and intensified our ego's fear-based consciousness of scarcity and lack. As time passed, we created a monetary system to help us acquire the things we thought we needed to survive. We started working from morning to night to earn money, to pay for food, clothing, shelter, and whatever else we needed to sustain our earthly bodies. These were the very things our covenant with God promised that the elemental kingdom would provide for us during our earthly sojourn. All we had to do in order to be blessed with this infinite flow of God's abundance and eternal peace was to fulfill our part of the covenant. But tragically, we were no longer able to remember what that was. The more our ego entrapped us in the consciousness of poverty, the less money we had for anything other than supplying the needs of our physical body. We were using our life force and spending all of our time and energy working to make money to pay for the very things our Father, Mother God had originally provided to us for free. Our ego's fear-based struggle for survival manipulated us into believing that there was not enough time for us to do anything else. As a result, we were not fulfilling our part of the covenant. We were no longer using our life force to co-create patterns of perfection that added to the light of the world. We had totally forgotten our agreement to honor and revere our earthly bodies and Mother Earth. This devastating state of affairs blocked our divine birthright, which was always intended for us to receive the natural flow of God's abundance and eternal peace. To this very day, the masses of humanity are being adversely affected by this extreme imbalance between the out-breath and the in-breath of God. Our ego's destructive behavior has created a block that has perpetuated poverty consciousness and kept the masses of humanity trapped in lack and limitation and poverty for eons of time. But now, humanity is awakening, and we are in the process of reversing the adverse effects of our fall from grace. New fifth-dimensional patterns associated with the new earth, which are pulsating with God's infinite abundance and eternal peace, are flowing into the mental and emotional strata of Mother Earth in more powerful ways than ever before. Due to the unprecedented cosmic moment we are now in the midst of, humanity has the ability to reclaim our covenant with God and to transmute into light the residue of our ego's obsolete poverty-based consciousness. All we have to do is renew our heart commitment to use our life force every day in ways that will add to the light of the world. We can easily accomplish this by doing things such as loving and respecting each other, and taking care of our earthly bodies, honoring the elemental kingdom and Mother Earth, and acknowledging the oneness of all life by responding to every situation with love and reverence for life. The opportunities to do these things are limitless and are presented to us every single day in myriad ways. Dear one, this week pay attention and see how many times every single day your life situations present you with the opportunity to add to the light of the world. God bless you, and I look forward to being with you next week.